Hi, I'm Rick.
Hi, I'm Oscar.
So, Oscar, today you want to take us into the wonderful world of Cosmos DB.
Yeah, I wanted to show you a couple of things about Cosmos DB. It's been around for a couple of years now.
Yeah, started out as DocumentDB, right?
Started out as DocumentDB, and somewhere in 2017, I think we were both at Build.
Yeah.
They announced it as Cosmos, and we were looking into it. Oh, that's DocumentDB, but rebranded.
Yes.
But it's actually a bit more, especially these days. So I was interested. Let's do a beta talk on that one.
Yeah.
So, quick for everyone who doesn't know or want to refresh. Cosmos DB, schemaless, NoSQL database.
Yep.
Interesting part is auto-indexing. So no schema, no index, and no indexes yourself. So don't worry about it. It should be fine.
And does it do it based on data or based on queries or based on everything? Or
what happens is actually everything you put in there, it will tear it apart, indexes everything. It's really interesting to see. So this is a service that has also what they call turnkey global distribution. So it's present everywhere on the planet, even though it's called Cosmos. It's only the planet. That's limitation for now. For now.
For now, yeah. Starts that
so
way.
we'll see. I'm curious for build. But so it has that. So it should be close to your application always.
Yeah.
If you want it, of course. It also had a multi-master replication mode. It has 5 nines of availability, which is good enough. For
most of the time,
people.
that's enough for people. Yeah.
That is really high. And they promise a sub 10 millisecond latency for the service. So
on both reads and writes.
Yeah.
On the 99th percentile, right? So 99% of everything you do on Cosmos DB
will be single-digit millisecond.
Guaranteed.
That's pretty awesome, I would say.
That's fast, right?
But that's the latency mode. If you want to look at the pure performance, it has the 5 consistency choices. So depending on, especially if you have it globally distributed, you have to tune, like how do you want your consistency? You want to have it eventually or...
some optimistic locking or pessimistic locking.
There are 5 choices, and it's really good. In the portal you can see a graphic showing it in some colors and music notes, and looks really awesome how they present that. Because you either want the fast ingress, be able to query, or it needs to be like the same data everywhere. Well, if you want the same data everywhere, you have, of course, just pure distance that will limit you in being consistent.
Yeah.
So think about that if you really want to go global scale, of course. And then the interesting part is how do you talk with Cosmos DB? Because you mentioned DocumentDB, that was the first one going in there. That's actually the core.
Think somewhere they added table storage also as an API on top of Cosmos.
Yeah, and one of the big ones was Mongo, for instance.
Yeah.
People really like that one because they really created a fully compatible Mongo API. So you just use your Mongo drivers, you can connect from any system you use to connect Mongo, switch the connection string and it works.
That's so powerful.
That's really cool, right? Next to that, the core one is called SQL, the SQL API. And so it's a NoSQL database or schemaless database.
With the SQL API?
It speaks SQL. But it's non-relational. You have Cassandra there, and you have Gremlin for if you want to do something cool with graphs.
Yeah.
So Graph API, or not a Graph API, it's a Graph database. That's something different. You have the table endpoint, which is also compatible with table storage. So that's also really nice if you want to go a bit more luxurious in performance.
Yeah.
Because you have the indexing then.
Yeah, and I've heard people actually being afraid of the fact that now the table storage is in Cosmos, we might lose it from storage accounts.
Yeah, because
I don't see that happening anytime soon, because table storage and storage accounts is like the simple default option that you have to do table storage relatively simple and it's relatively cheap.
Really powerful.
And it's really
cheap,
relatively cheap. And then here you go into an enterprise solution where you have all these extra options as far as replication and global distribution goes.
Yeah. we'll get back to the table API. I have a talk for that, so
Cool.
we'll do that later.
Nice.
One new one is in previews, the etcd
Yep.
API used to as a key value store protocol, used in Kubernetes clusters for configuration and stuff.
And they support that now too?
Yeah, so you just turn it on and point it to Cosmos, so you have it somewhere in the cloud.
And it works?
And it works, yeah. Well, it's preview, so no guarantees for me. So what do you want? If you create a Cosmos DB, you have to create an account, give it a name.
Yep.
Pretty unique, it should be, like all the other services in Azure. And then you choose your API. So choose your API, it will just take that one. You cannot switch it, you cannot choose two APIs. One account has an API.
Okay.
So you can start with SQL and it's like, I also want to do something with one of the others.
Then you need to create a
new account. It's a different account. But you also choose your primary location because you don't have to distribute it over the whole planet. But if you want, you enable the geo redundancy, and you can or cannot, or if you want, you can enable the multi-region rights.
Cool.
So in that account, you start by creating a database because you need to store it somewhere. So you can also put multiple databases in there. That's interesting.
And in one database, you can have multiple containers or collections, as it used to be called.
Yeah, it was collection. There's now container everywhere in all the options. So depending on your API, what is what, container is table-like. Especially for the table API, that's the table. Yeah. So what you can do is choose your throughput. The minimum what you can choose is the 400 RUs, which is not blazingly fast, but
it gets the job done.
You can work with it. You cannot go lower than that. And you can choose that either for the whole database or per container. So you can say, distribute this over my multiple containers that I have, and I want to max out to that. Or you can, for each container, you set a limit, like this one. It's fine, but just lower it, otherwise it's really expensive, and I can do it async. You can choose that and tune that to preserve your cost a bit. Because the cost in Cosmos DB is something some people joke on a bit. If you enable all the options and put your 4,000 to 10,000, you're going to break the bank. So that's it. But what I wanted to show you is actually two things. First of all, the SDK.
Yeah. We've worked with that quite a few times, right?
It's now at version 3. So since last summer, somewhere in 2019, I think, went to version 3. Version 3 is completely .NET Standard 2. It's just a package on NuGet. You can start running with it.
Pull it in and
so I'm going to show that in a bit. Next to that, I'm going to show something, which is also interesting, is EF Core implementation.
Yes, they support the SQL API on Cosmos DB right now.
Yeah. We mentioned it before. They actually created implementation for EF Core, so you have a DB context. I'm going to show you. Cool. First, go back to the normal SDK. So I'm going to open Visual Studio. This is a console application, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. First, maybe interesting to see, you have your entity here, which I want to store and read. Has a property name defined. It says ID here in low caps or lowercase, and because there are some things mandatory in DocumentDB, Cosmos DB. Still not. In Cosmos DB.
I caught myself saying Windows Azure.
Oh, that's a while ago.
Yeah, that was.
Wow. But two things mandatory is an ID and is a partition key.
Okay.
Partition key also helps you out to distribute your data, so you can keep the performance up.
Yep.
You can just take one, but it will be slower. Make it interesting. Could be your tenant or whatever, depending on how your application works.
Yeah.
So I have some decorations on here. Then next up, it is also not too complicated. You new up a client, you throw in a connection string, which you just fish out of the portal.
No, you get that from Key Vault, of course.
Yeah, of course, in the portal. Yeah. You script everything in CLI.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
For now, I used the portal and just copied it. Sorry.
No.
from the client you can get the reference to the database, and then you get the reference to the container. So in this case I have a database called SDK DB, and I have a persons container. And from that container you're gonna, you can use this API. For instance, I have the upsert item here as an example. Then it's an insert or an update, depending if it can find the ID. In this case, it probably won't.
I'm guessing.
And next to that, I do a link query to the container, where I can say it starts with. And I iterate it by reading from the result. So, not too complicated, right?
No, this is fairly straightforward stuff.
Yeah. So then, it's like, what does this almost the same setup look like in the EF implementation? I have an API open here.
Yep.
So if I open up the controller, you wouldn't notice that it's DocumentDB.
No.
Here we go again, Cosmos DB again.
No, because it has a context, and you do a persons.toList, and then you have a where clause, and then you do some saving changes on the context. I think that's in there somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, context save changes.
So you have the context, you inject the context, you read from it, query, you add entities, you remove entities, and you save the changes. So the model from this perspective is pretty similar. I found out by now that some tricks you are used to doing, it won't work. Things like joins from the outside. It's not a relational database, so it won't know how to translate it.
NoSQL database.
Yeah, with the SQL API. But now look at that context, how we implemented it. So default setup, you inherit the DB context, you do on creating, and I define it with the Fluent API. I say it has a default container, but in this case I also implemented the container or defined it for just the persons. So we're doing nothing with the default container, but you can do that if you want to mix all kinds of entities in just one container.
Yeah, then you can use the discriminator, right?
And then you need the discriminator.
Yeah.
That's true, because the discriminator, if you map that, the entity should say, I'm this type. And then you can mix entities in one container. Yeah. Depending on how you want it and why you want it. For this, it's straightforward. Everything's in the persons container. You map the partitions key, and what is interesting, I made a bit more extensive model. I have a person, and it owns the addresses. But the addresses don't have a DB set, because it's not a different table.
No, it's part of the person.
Yeah, it's an embedded clause in the person.
Because you don't have relations, you
just push it.
Yeah.
Some kinds of relations are really interesting to embed, others are really different entities. Yeah. So depending on what kind of system you're building, in this case, a person with a few addresses is easy to store in the thing. You also see it doesn't have an ID, it doesn't have its own world, like it's just data. But we don't have to normalize now, because we're using a DocumentDB.
Cool.
So, let me see. So if you look at this, the setup is a bit different, because you have some new terms in there. But yeah, it kind of looks the same. So it's really easy for a team or an application that's not too deep, not too complex, to change it to Cosmos if you need it. On the other hand, why would you go to a really big scale if you have a simple application?
True.
Some applications just map better in the end to a non-relational database. But if you really do that from a design perspective, the SDK is also not more difficult to get your head around.
No, because it's relatively simple to start using that one.
Yeah.
But I think, and maybe we should record a separate session on this one, because we're used to pushing stuff in a database, right? Mm-hmm. If it's data, it goes in the database. Yeah. And then we always used to have a relational database available, because we all had SQL or Oracle or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we're still really inclined to, it's data, it goes in the database.
Yeah. We pull it apart, we make it fully relational, and actually you're losing data.
Yeah, so I think we should do a talk on that one later. Do you want to show it running, or you want to leave it at this?
Shall we show that I'm not just it built. So that's one.
That's where it starts.
I added some Swagger on it.
That's nice. So you can
that's
try
all
out from the browser.
Yeah, I won't create any API without just pushing this on it, because otherwise, yeah, you're opening and just guessing for routes. In this case, it makes
True.
it so easy. So I have the API. This is just the get that's in there. So I want to say try it out, and there's a big execute button there. And
We have some first-time warm-up, probably.
Yeah, it's a connection thing. Well, that's all set up right now. So this is actually using the EF implementation.
Hey, that's me.
To get the data. Yeah, I've got you in here. We needed some person there. So all these things work. Yeah, I think we can share it online. People to
Cool.
just pick it up, create a Cosmos DB.
I will put it
Choose,
on GitHub, probably.
Yeah, I'll just share it. We'll set it in the notes and put it in the notes.
Cool.
And yeah, play around with it, see what you think about it, and find the limitations, because that's gonna really make you think about the model.
Nice. Well, thanks so much for this awesome demo, and thank you for watching, and hope to see you soon.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.